Okay, so I'm gonna go over a couple things here. First thing is gonna be the sculpture itself, and this is what you're gonna get. So I'm not gonna place these stickers on all of them. After all, I'm gonna let people decide if they want to place the stickers on them. So it doesn't have to. They don't have to work off any goop later on. It doesn't seem to have any problem peel on and off, but just in case. So that's the sculpture. Here are the components that you see, the 13 pieces. So it comes with the hat, the body, the base, and then you have the head, the backpack, the 2 cartridges for the gas mask. You have a marker, a spray can, 2 hands, and 2 arms. So I'm also going to be showing how to put this together, and the tools I'll be using for that are going to be the tweezers, the toothpicks, Q-tips, some 800 grit sandpaper. I'm using 3M because I like the brand, but whatever you got. Now I want to talk a little bit, before I go into building that, what you're going to get in the kit. So the sticker that comes with it, all these stickers I made, printed them here, designed them on the computer myself, made in New Glarus. Kind of just shows you, where it was made. Take some pride in where it's at. This is going to be the kit, so when you get it in the 13 pieces, if you want to be the one painting it and priming it and sanding it, you'll get this. So you'll get a vacuum packed 13 piece kit, and you're going to have to prime it, you're going to have to paint it. I did that with alligator clips myself. I've mounted all these pieces on these alligator clips. See, I had to get a toothpick in there in order to get the middle of that, but anyhow, you paint them yourself, put them together yourself. That's what I'm going to be doing. Oh yeah, so in the kit, you're going to get a hand signed sticker, and it's going to kind of give a description of what you have and show you the 13 pieces, so you know I didn't short you. LOL, ha ha ha. Anyway, this foam here will be good just to keep it from breaking the tiny pieces. Be careful of the spray can nozzle on the tiny spray can, and then the backpack straps. These things, they go right back together. The super glue that I use when I put this whole piece together is Rapid Fuse. I got this at like Home Depot or something, so it works really good. I've never had a problem with this stuff, and it says it guarantees it for a year. In this little package, if you get the sculpture standalone that's already completed, you'll get a little package still. You get a hand signed sticker with the date, autograph, and it also has the price tag on the bag, but it has the price tag sticker you can actually choose to put on the base of the sculpture if you want. That's like what I had here, showed you. So if you want to have that. Also, you get a business card, so you can go to my website, check this stuff out. You can get in contact with me if you need to. I sold out of my paperboys, so in order to get yours, you're going to have to go to Motivate Milwaukee, and that's at 823 West National Avenue in Milwaukee. So check them out. And this just shows you the sculpture. I mean, you can keep it in the bag for keepsakes. You can put it on something if you want. It's just authenticity, showing you a certification that it's my work, authentic. So that's kind of what you're going to get in the package. Like I said, you can't get any more of these sculptures from me because I'm sold out. I gave everybody opportunities to hit me. So I'm going to go ahead and compile this, show you what it's like to put it together. I use this as a model to put it together. If you are buying a kit and you don't have one already assembled, you can just look at this picture that I made here, which is the same thing I'm pretty much going off of. So you can see where the marker goes, how the arms are supposed to go, or you can refer to this video, which is why I'm making it. So first things first, I'm going to jump in, and I actually did forget one thing that I'm going to be using in the video. That's going to be some napkins and stuff. You can choose your paper towel brand or whatever, or if you want to do it, whatever you use. So I'm just breaking little pieces because I tend to use them on just small areas if I'm trying to wipe up some excessive stuff or wipe them off of my toothpicks while I'm gluing them together. First thing I start with, and I have a reason for the reason, like what I'm doing. I start with the base, usually so I can keep it flat and know where it's at. But I've drilled the hole in each of these bases so it fits, but it fits loose. I didn't want it to be too tight. So what you're going to do is line it up where you want it, and then you're going to glue it in place. Now this video is going to show you how I prefer to do it. You can choose whatever method works for you. Any different products, whatever. So Rapid Fuse works pretty quick. I don't use that self-initiating one where you use the spray or whatever and then it initiates real quick. I mean, I have some of that fast-acting stuff, but for this, Rapid Fuse works fast. You just have to remember to use a little bit. Don't overdo it. It will bond. If you need to put more in the crack later, do that, but just get it set. So first thing I do is put some glue on the base, and I kind of use the tip to move it across. Applicator, there's a bubble in it. Anyway, I get it around there. So now it's on the base a little bit. Not too heavy. I don't know how well this camera is showing you this stuff, but it's not too heavy on there. But anyway, I let it sit for a couple seconds in the air, and then I put it back in so it bonds quick. And I'm giving it a push to lean, and I'm looking at the drawstrings of the hoodie, and I'm putting the left of his body, my right, where my thumb is, I'm putting that piece right above the halo in the paperboard down here. And I'm holding it in a couple seconds here. I blow on it, let some air hit it. This is the patient part. Maybe I'll speed it up. Maybe I'll let you guys just sit and wait with me. Alright, so 30-second set is usually what it is. Now you can see the drawstrings over the halo on this one, the drawstrings over the halo on this one. If you turn it to the side, and I advise you to put these pieces together before you glue them and see how they fit too. But you'll see the shoulder and the drawstring on the corner, and that's what I want here. I haven't put the shoulder in yet, but I'm also giving this a little bit of time to set. It should be pretty good in about a minute. But I'll give it a second. Now, while I'm waiting for that, usually I do more than one at a time, but since I'm waiting for some of that to dry and set or whatever, I'm going to go ahead and get a couple other pieces together. What I like to do separate is these hands, and this one that looks like it's holding something here is going to be holding the can. Now, they will fit without having to glue, but then they'll fall. So it fits good, but it won't stay that long, so you do want to glue it. And I glue this in a couple of spots. I glue it on the thumb, I glue it on the finger, and I'll glue it on the bottom of the finger here too. Sometimes I'll turn it and I'll put some with the toothpick inside of the hand and glue it there. So that's what I'm going to do right now. And when I'm gluing smaller areas, sometimes what I like to do is just put a little dab of glue somewhere. I don't know if the camera's getting this. I just have a little tray below my surface area, and that allows me to not put my hands in the glue. So I'll put the tip into the glue, and now I'll go ahead and glue the pieces that I want to stay onto the can. Sometimes I work them in places where I don't think people are going to see them because I'd rather them not be visible. But be careful not to glue your hands. You're all grown if you're doing this. If you're a kid, then hopefully your parents telling you not to glue your hands. So that usually just takes a little bit, 30 seconds to actually bond. And while I'm doing it, I'm pinching it with my hands. And it's kind of letting me push the can into the hand while that Rapid Fuse dries right there. I blow on it. I'm also working under a fume hood. Sorry for stuttering my words. I work a lot. I'm focused. So now I'll go underneath too. And I'm going to do the same thing, but just in a different area. So I'm applying the Rapid Fuse into the crease. I don't really know if the camera is getting that, but I'm applying it into the crease where the can is holding. Or the hand is holding the can, I mean. Sorry. Alright, now I have that glued in there a little bit. And what I'm going to do, trying to get in the camera, I'm like working in front of it, so I can't really tell. But anyway, I'm going to set that to the side. And I'm going to let the glue do the same thing that it's doing here. And I'm not going to touch this yet. I'm actually going to do the same thing here. And I'm going to do it with this marker. So I'm just going to put the marker through the fingers as if he was holding a pen or a pencil. And then when I draw, I actually did this character as if I was drawing, and I put my finger down there to kind of support it. So that's also what it's going to do. I'm going to drop it. Okay, so you can see how it's in there, kind of like you'd be holding one. Alright, so now that I put it in position, I'm going to go ahead and glue it in place. I'm going to do that the same way. I got a glob of glue underneath there. I'm going to use the tip of the toothpick, hit the glob of glue. Say that 3 times fast. Glob of glue, glob of glue, glob of glue. See, I can say that, but I stutter other words. That's crazy. And I'm just going to put it in the crack where the fingers are holding onto the marker. Now, I definitely do I spill a little bit here. So that's why I got the sandpaper, which I'll use after the glue dries. Don't do it while it's wet. But what I do is use the Q-tip. You can use a dish of water. I just lick the end of the Q-tip, and I'm going to go ahead and scrape off this excess glue. If you don't get the Q-tip wet, you'll leave a little bit of hairs on the Q-tip. And switch sides if you're going to go lick it again. Make sure you don't lick the same side of the Q-tip twice after you've stuck it in glue. So I'm just getting the excess stuff off. Now I use plenty of Q-tips to do this, so only on the small areas. It's not too many Q-tips, but I'm going to paint over this stuff again too. One more time just to kind of hide some of the glue lines. I advise you to do that too, because it definitely looks messy right now. I'm going to have to use the sandpaper. But I'm going to hit a couple more points, glue points quick. One more is on the tip of this finger. And I'll probably put some underneath it as well. The more spots, the better, but just remember, wherever you put the glue, just put it on thin. You don't want to put globs of glue on the piece and then you have to wait a day for it to dry. Just put a little bit on and let it do its thing. Alright, so now that I got the hands done, I will be painting these separately one more time before I glue them in the hand. And the reason I do that is because on the tip of the marker where the alligator clips were, there's a little bit of, I guess, less paint, and I kind of want to even that out just because I couldn't spray where the clamps were holding. Those are a little bit more dry. Now let's go check our body. It seems pretty firm. I like where it's at right now. That's the trick. Rapid Fuse does the trick here. The next thing that I do is the backpack. Now, I made this just a little bit longer than you really need. So you can file it down using the sandpaper. I have an emery style board here. I got these on Amazon for like, I don't know, $1 for 60 or something like that. It was ridiculously cheap. I just sand mine down. Now, before I sand it down, I'll show you how it fits. They do fit snug in there. You shouldn't need to sand yours down. But because I want it to fit a little bit closer than that, just on the side I'm going to sand it down a little bit using my emery board. Don't go too far or it won't stick. So make sure you're conscious of that. I don't know how well you can see this, but there's not too much left. So there is enough to actually stick in the body. And you can give it a little push with your fingers too. It'll stay there without, I mean, these are designed to fit. So it will stay there without, but once you put the glue on, it will stay a lot better. Now, sometimes I also glue the sides of the bag to the body, but after I glue the middle, because otherwise it's only holding on by this one point. So I don't put a lot of glue. I don't know if you saw how much that was, but it's a very little bit. Because I want it to stick fast. I don't necessarily need it to be on there extremely good. I can use a little bit more glue after it sticks on. And I kind of push it towards, I guess, the right side of his body, just because the left side has an arm here, and you won't really see the gap in between the body and the bag. But here I want to close the gap. So I'm just going to hold it into place while that glue sets. And usually I put the cap back on just a little bit while I'm waiting in between. Good practice if you're going to want to use the whole bottle. And to prime this, I might as well say while I'm waiting, I used Badger Stynylrez, Stynylrez, Stynylrez primer. And what I'm using to apply that is my Iwata airbrush. This is an Eclipse. So it goes on smooth and I'm not losing any detail. I'd suggest you guys do something like that too. Alright, now moving on with the backpack here. You can kind of see there are little areas in between the body and the bag. In some places where they almost connect, like on the hoodie and the top of the bag. I'm going to go ahead and put a dab of glue there so it's extra reinforcement. And again, I have a drop of glue down here that I'm able to use. It's probably starting to dry, so I'll probably put another one on soon. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and dab more glue down. Alright, just a little drop. Tip of my Q-tip. Roll it in the glue. And then I'll just let a drop fall right in between the bag and the body, and it'll form a nice bond. Really easy. Do it on the other side as well. Bam. And I'll do it once on the hoodie. In between the hoodie and the backpack. There. So that's it for that. The backpack will be on there good. I'll give it a little bit of time to dry there too. The Q-tip, the tweezers are in case I put stuff from the Q-tip on or other little hairs that I want to pull off or peel off without damaging it or needing to sand too much later. After I glue it all together, I'll do a little bit of sanding to just get rid of some of the glue points, and then I'll go ahead and hit it again with another layer of the primer gray. Then I'll clear coat it again. So I advise you guys to do the same if you're putting one together. I'm glad that I already painted this one instead of trying to put together one that isn't painted so you can kind of see more details. Alright, after I got the bag on, my next move is going to be the arms. And then I can put the head on. But the reason why I put the arms on first is because I want to make sure that the head and the gas mask canisters aren't going to be interfering with the arms. So the first arm I start with is going to be the sculpture's left arm. It's on my right side. And there is a square peg that goes into the hole. So it fits actually, again, without any glue. However, we are going to use glue. So if you move it a little bit, it will go up and down just a little bit. So what I do is put my finger in the hoodie and I put my thumb on his shoulder so I can prevent it from moving where I want as I let the glue dry. First I dry fit it, no glue. I like it pushed down a little bit so it's supported even over time. It won't wear the glue down while it's drying either. And I kind of pull it just a little bit away from the body. Not much, just a little bit to give it character. So, again, just a little bit. I'm not going to put a lot on. And I'm going to spread it around with the tip. Just a very little bit. I'll put the cap back on my glue. And then I'll let it dry just a couple seconds. I'll stick it into the hole. And again, finger in the hoodie, thumb on the shoulder, and I'm going to pull it down a little bit and out of the body just slightly. I want it to match up the sculpture. Don't forget to look. That way when you're doing your kit, you'll know exactly what you got to do. But now that the body is in place and everything, the only real thing that you have to worry about lining up is the head, because you want it to look over the shoulder and you want it to be looking up. You don't want it to be facing the ground. So anyway, I've had this in place for about 10 seconds now. I didn't count, maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little less. It's good to hold by itself. I have it in the pocket, so it's fine there. You don't want to go touching it too much before the 30 seconds, but if you're very careful, you can start on the other arm. Same thing here. I got the square peg that fits the square hole. You can see it. Square hole. And now this one, again, let's dry fit the pieces. It's good practice to do that. You want to see what it's going to look like. This one fits, no glue needed. However, we're going to apply glue to all of them. Don't want your pieces falling over looking like crap. Do it professionally, take your time, do it right. A little bit of glue, don't gob it on, you just be patient with it. If you do have too much, like I feel like this is too much, and it's still not even that much, I'll use my Q-tip, or I'm sorry, I'll use my toothpick, and I'll just get rid of some of it. You don't need all that. What does that cost you, like a fraction of a penny? Now I'm going to go ahead and stick it in the square peg, and again it's loose, so I'm pulling it a little bit down. The idea here, again, is so that gravity will hold with it. So you don't want to be fighting gravity, putting it up in the air and letting the glue be pulled down. Just fit it where it's nice and snug. And it'll be easier to hold it in place while it dries too. I mean, I could probably even let go of it now because it fits so snug, but I'm just gonna, for safety precautions, hold on to it. Remember, when you want something to come out great, you stick to the plan. You make a plan ahead of time. You don't try to figure it out as you go. You take your time, you do it right, you get all the stuff you need ahead of time so you're not trying to run around for it. And then you do every step right. So that way the end comes out perfect. There's no reason to rush through something, otherwise you're wasting your time. Don't spend your time doing something that you're just wasting your life on. Want your sculpture to be looking nice, the way I intended it, this is what you gotta do. And it's not even taking that long. So we have a couple seconds to let this stuff dry yet. I don't want to proceed without giving it a few seconds, so I'm going to stop this video and come back where I left off. But you can see they're looking like twins already. All because we started with the base and the body lining up again with the hoodie drawstring above the halo. And we tilted the body to the left just a little bit because it tends to want to lean. And the whole idea is to make this look like it's on an angle. It's a can, spray can, and the lip of it is at an angle because it's looking like it's hovering a little. Okay, so we've had a little bit of time to let the arms dry. Don't go pulling on them and stuff like that, but I mean, make sure they're set a little bit. Mine seem to be fine. I've waited about, I don't know, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It says 30 seconds, so just give it a lot of time. You're not, I mean, what's it gonna hurt to wait 1 or 2 more minutes and have something that's gonna last a long time? Now this part, the head part, is probably one of the most, I wouldn't say tedious, but just difficult to get lined where I meant it to be. It can look like, I mean, you could stick it in the hole and it's going to look good. So it's made to look good like that. However, I like it with a slight tilt up. And that goes against what I was saying with the arms where you want it to be with gravity. Yeah, it's falling down. But I like them to have that sharp look. Now, if you look at the sculpture I have now, or at home if you're doing this without the sculpture, you can refer to the picture of how I have it, and he's looking up. So that's going to be the idea. Here's the side, and he's looking up. So it will stay again. You can get it to stay without the glue, but the glue is going to keep it in place. And we want him to look over his shoulder. So ideally you would have this, the nozzle and the air port for his gas mask right over the bolts of the Paperboy label, and then tilt it up. So that's what I'm going to do. Now I already know where I want it. I've tried to fit it. It looks good there. That's what I want. I'm going to go ahead and put the glue on and hold it in place while it dries. Just a little bit. Don't overdo it. If you get too much, don't be afraid to put some back in the container. I let it drip, but as I do, I push on the bottle a little. You can see the air bubbles. I let a little come out, and then once the air is out, it will suck the liquid back in the bottle. Physics. Science. Now that I got a little bit on there, I don't mind having a little bit extra, not too much extra, but just a small amount extra that you can let just drip in the hole and kind of get around the sides. So I kind of twist it and I let that glue get in the sides a little bit. Now that the glue's in there, again, I'm going to line it up where I want it, and I'm going to hold his head into place while it dries, blowing on it as well. I'm using my ring finger of my left hand to support the hoodie as I put pressure with my thumb against the forehead of the spray nozzle, pushing it upward and holding it in place as I let the glue dry. Yes, it seems a little bit tedious. However, it only takes about 30 seconds. I'm probably the most impatient person I know, and I'm doing all right with it. Okay, now there. I don't even have to hold it anymore. It's in place enough to where I can just let it go and relax a bit on it. But I'm definitely not going to be in a hurry to put these gas mask canisters in until that nozzle has set. Because look where it's at. It's going into the spray can. That's what the head is. The head and the neck is going into a spray can body. And if you look at a spray can, you'll see that's the lip here, and that's the hose. That would be his neck. I exaggerated it like a cartoon character, but then you can see the ring inside the hoodie. That's this ring. The ball of his neck and shoulder is the ball of the can, so it looks like the cap. And then you see these rings. That's the first ring on his chest, and then down here is the ring at the base. So it's like an angled spray can body. I hope that sums something up for you. I don't know if everybody knew that or not. I know all my graffiti heads did. Anyway, since I have this can, I'll show you. I'm using Krylon Color Master Clear for this. Flat crystal clear. 25% more for more spray and stuff. But this is working really good to give me this flat look that is on this body after I put the Stynylrez res on. I actually like the gray. The primer gray look really nice to me. So next I'm going to get these little gas mask portions, and what I'm going to do, again, you can use your 800 grit, or you can use a higher grit. I'm using an emery board, and what I'm doing is just kind of filing down some of this, being careful not to get the edges here, unlike what I just did. I use my fingertips and I make them flush like this, so as I run the file back and forth, I'm not scraping the lip that I want to keep painted. So anyway, I just scraped out a little bit of that, so when it goes in, it's going to be shorter. I provided extra length, so that way you could mess up or overpaint and sand down and not have to worry about it not fitting. So this one's already a little bit small. Again, I'm using my fingers and I'm getting flush so this doesn't scrape the sides that I want to keep painted. Alright, now the nozzles are in place. The head should be about solid in there. That's what I like about this super glue. I can feel like moving on even after I've applied it. So it's been a couple minutes now since I've applied it. I always dry fit my pieces, as you probably know if you've watched this whole video so far. So that's about where I'm going to want it. And again, they stick without glue, but I'm going to put the glue on. When they're that snug, the glue really helps. But when they're that snug, you don't want to use too much glue either. Just use a little bit, so. Just a small amount on there. You probably can't even see it on the camera. I'm wiggling it back and forth to get it all in there. And I'm turning it until it kind of locks in place where it wants to stay. And I'm just going to let it stay right there until the glue heals or cures. Give that about 30 seconds or so. I don't want to go jamming the other one in because I want to give that one time to dry. So definitely be patient with it. Don't try to get them both in there at the same time. Treat it as if it's a different part of the body and it will come out great. Keep your cap on your glue. You're doing awesome. If you're following along and yours looks like mine, you're doing good. Alright. I think it's been about 30 seconds. You guys are watching the video. You could probably watch the time. But I'm going to move on. Again, I'm going to dry fit this piece. Be careful. You just put the other one in. You don't want to mess it up. It fits great without the glue. And I'm going to put the glue in. Same procedure every time. Just do it right. Step by step. Make it habit and then you won't mess it up. Or you'll be less likely to, I should say. Again, I put the cap on, preserving my liquid in there. And I'm just going to do it just like I practiced. Just like I dry fit. And once again, it fits even without the need for glue. So with the glue in there, it holds really tight. Bam. So now that we got to this part, what I like to do is go ahead and spray these hands again. Now remember we glued them earlier on, so they should be nice and durable now. And in fact, this is the part where you go ahead and take your sandpaper and then just nick away any of that extra glue that you have on there and just smooth it back out to, you know, whatever you need. Or if pieces of the cloth got stuck on there, the Q-tip, just get those off your sculpture quick. And I mean, it looks worse than it is because I'm feeling it. It's smooth. I don't even have to do much. The paint will cover most of that. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that down. I'm going to also do the same thing here. There's a little bit of extra area where the glue was. I'm just going to hit it with the 800 grit sandpaper. It's going to keep it nice and smooth, so when I put another layer of that primer on there, it's going to go over and look great. I mean, really, there's not too much overage on the glue. I like to fold my sandpaper up, but leave a little bit of a loop so I can get into tiny areas like in between the fingers. There. Just take the shine off of where that glue is dried. So now I have my hands. They're going to fit great into the arms. I'm going to paint them before I put back on the arms, because it's kind of difficult once you put them on to try to get around all of the hands and everything. So this is what I have for painting my sculpture. I showed you guys the alligator clips. And they come with skewers. You clamp them onto the skewers. Amazon, 10 bucks for 50 or something. And then I also hit them with a bit of this glue, so the rapid fuse holds them in place, and they work great. This rapid fuse, man, I'm gonna talk it up. When I have a good product, I don't mind endorsing it. So they're not paying me, they ain't giving me anything. I'm not making anything. I had to spend money on them, but they're worth it, so that's why I'll tell you. Now I have them. Here are some hats from the other ones that I'm doing right now, but I'm gonna go ahead and use this to stick my hands in. So I'm gonna be painting those. This is my fume hood, so I'll probably shut down the video and just set this up for paint quick so I can paint my hand, and then I can put them back on the body. After I put them on the body, I'll probably paint the whole, well, I'll probably paint the whole body while I paint the hands. Then when I go back to glue them together, I might hit them with another clear coat, maybe not, seeing how they hold. But that's pretty much going to be it. I'll get back on this video in a minute once I've painted these and I'm ready to glue this part together. Okay, if you're still watching, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and show you what I do to continue this. This is my Iwata airbrush, my fume hood. Since I'm only using an airbrush and I'm not using my clear coat right now, I can do the fume hood pretty low. I don't have to do it on a high setting. You get a test strip, you can see what you're spraying. It's usually helpful. Now underneath here you can see how I painted these using a toothpick that I glued. So what I do after that is I snap it off once I've painted it and clear coated. But it leaves me with just a little bit underneath that still needs to be hit, that's white. So what I do, I don't mind getting it on my hands. I just give it a good squirt, and I'll actually give it another squirt in just a minute, but I'll let that dry first. Making sure not to get stuff on the inside. Slide it gently. Now I also told you that I needed to paint the hands, so I do that under the flow hood too. I already glued them together, so I'm going to hit over the glue spots and it's going to look good after I put them together. And I'm going to hit it probably twice with this. There's the first coat. I'll set it to the side. Grabbing the next hand, the one with the marker. Now you can see where there's white on the tip of the marker, because that's where I use the alligator clips. So I'm just going to hose them down first, make sure I cover them, and then cover the rest of the hand. All where I sanded it, where the glue marks are, everything. Don't overdo it, just give it enough. I hit it against something, so. Now, while we're waiting for that to get a second coat, I'm going to come here and do the body again. Oh, especially after I tipped it. Most of it is already actually really good, but I'm going to want to not touch it and get in some of these cracks and again where I have the glue parts. So I'm going to go up and down, back and forth a little bit too, getting in those cracks and crevices, up to the top, underneath the bag. I'm going to have to turn my fume hood up a little bit, so I hope it's not too noisy, but... And I'm just going to want one coat over the whole thing. Make sure it's good. I kind of missed it a little bit too, just to kind of give the top an even go. Now I'm going to let that sit, and I'm going to come back and give it one more in just a minute after it dries. So while I'm waiting, I can go back to the hat. It's a little bit drier. And I'm going to spray again just right in there and get that hole. That's all I need to do for the hat. The hat is done other than clear coating it. I'll come back to the hands and I'm going to give it a second round with the hands. Bam. And you won't see what the alligator clip is holding because that's going into the arm socket. Grab the hand that has the marker. And same thing, just like before, all angles. Wow, I give a good distance away when I'm spraying too. Wow. Gives like a finer mist. Dries a little quicker and a little more evenly. Okay, so one more hit on the body. I like to get the paperboy even where the print is, and then start hitting all angles of the body. Shoulders, hoodie, inside, gas mask, all around, all angles. Make sure not to spray the flap and get it to touch your sculpture. A nice little mist from a good distance away as I'm flapping it. That's it. So now I'm just going to let this sit for a bit. After it dries in a minute, I'm going to hit it with 2 more coats of clear coat with this Krylon Color Master. And then after that, I'll glue the hands together and I'll have a finished piece. So stay with, I'll be back in a second. Okay, so it's been a few minutes. Everything has had a chance to dry a little bit. So now I'm going to go ahead, shake up my clear coat real good. And you should be wearing a respirator for this. I turned mine up full blast because I want it to all suck. I'm using a pretty good fan. You can see it in my other video, but you don't want to be spraying something like this indoors without a great fan. That little computer desk fan, spray booth crap, it's not gonna fly here. You need something with some real juice. Alright, and for this, I'm just gonna go ahead and hit it with clear coat and set it down. Be careful how you touch it, how you set it down. You don't want to be holding it where you're gonna clear coat. Take your fingers off and have a fingerprint. But you don't want it to fly across either, so I do put my hand in the way, and sometimes I'll hit it like that. You could use something to shield it if you don't want your hand. I don't care, I'm an artist, that's how I roll. Next I'm going to take the hands. This one looks like it still has a second to dry, so I'll grab this hand, which is the one I sprayed first anyway, and I'm going to give it a generous coat. It dries flat, so I want it to dry even. Let all that spray go up. So the second hand, still the first coat, generous portion. It's probably good practice to let your primer or paint dry for the directions, the duration that the direction says. Probably 30 minutes in this case for the Stynylrez. I waited about 5. So that's the first coat with the hat, first coat with the hands. And then I'm going to do the first coat of the clear coat with the body. I'm going to start just on the side here, and I'm going to work all the way around going at different angles. On the top, left and right, in between the arms, in the hoodie, in the crack underneath the bag, again on top of the hoodie and the neck, gas mask canisters, up and down the body. I'm watching all of that while I'm doing this. This flap is going to definitely ruin my piece if I don't get rid of it, so see me ruining it. And I'm going to give it a good generous coat and a nice mist to get it even. That's what works best for me. There, you're going to be able to drop this thing off a skyscraper and it's going to stay good. That's not true. but it is good clear coating. I'll let this sit for a minute. I'm not going to hit the clear coat right away. I'll do it in like 2 more minutes. It should all be ready to go. Actually looking pretty good. Maybe I'll do it right now after all. Again, just put my hand behind the hat so it doesn't fly. Clear coat on the inside. I might flip it and then get the outside one more time, but that's going to be after the bottom dries. It says it's going to dry in 10 to 15 minutes or something. Then you can handle it after an hour. So definitely give it time to dry before you're touching it. Notice I'm using my hands to turn this. I'm not touching the actual sculpture. I'm using the piece of paper. So I'm going to go ahead and apply my second coat on this body in generous portions. All angles. Underneath even. Alright, bam. That's good for that. Let me get the hands. Slide this out of the way so I'm not overcoating it. Being very careful. The fingernails are going to look like this. It'll stay like that too because it's hardened on. You give it a good coat, just like a car. The hands, first hand, second coat. Good generous coat. It's going to look good. It's going to be protected. Second hand, second coat. All angles here. Don't mess around. Wow. Notice my motion. I'm misting it. I'm not hosing it and staying in one spot. That's good. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to let these dry. And after they dry, I'll go ahead and assemble the hands. It says let it dry for 1 hour before handling. I'll go ahead and work on other sculptures till then, and then I'll stop this video and I'll start it back up when I'm ready to touch it. Okay, I went ahead and finished touching up the paint on all of these sides and let them dry after I clear coated them. Now the last step is to go ahead and put these into the sleeves to complete the piece. We're not going to do anything with the hat because you could stick that on or take it off. It's not going to get glued. I want to be able to move that around. I like that. So we'll start with the spray can, and I'm just going to try to make his arm align with his wrist so it comes up, and I'll just turn it a little bit so the spray nozzle isn't touching the canister for the gas mask. Alright. So we went ahead and dry fitted it. Fits good. We'll go ahead and put the glue on. I'm going to use the Q-tip to just kind of spread it on this arm a little bit, or the wrist. Stick it in there, move it around a little bit, get that glue all over, and then I'm going to hold it in place where I like it. Very important to keep it still for the first, well, I'd say at least 20 seconds. So that's 30 seconds. I'd definitely try if you can for 30. Now that's good. I'm going to give it a few more seconds to just dry on its own. I don't want to go touching it and having it break. But the only other thing to do is glue the second hand in. I'll do it the same exact way. A little bit of glue, close up my lid, toothpick to spread it. Alright. I did not dry fit this one first, and I should have. But I like to turn it so it's facing this way, so I can make sure the hand looks like it's writing. And I'll just hold it there in place, using my index finger and my middle finger to hold the wrist and the arm, and using my thumb for the palm. I'm kind of putting pressure against them both and holding it in place. Again, I'm going to give it just plenty of time. Alright, there we go. Now it's a completed sculpture. I'm going to throw another bit of clear coat just to kind of seal those joints that I just made between the wrist and the arms. Probably not going to strengthen it too much, but I think it will be good to do. There you go. If you do it the same way I did, then you'd have a great paperboy sculpture. It'll stand and look great from every angle. Wow. Hope you found this beneficial. If you like this video, make sure you share it and support me.